Welcome back to the channel, my spooky friends. Tonight, we delve into the dark heart of the night, where roads stretch into endless shadows and every turn could hide something sinister. Tonight, we explore the terror that awaits those who dare to drive after dark. Get ready for 3 chilling tales, 3 terrifying accounts of night drives that will leave you breathless. Keep your eyes on the road and your mind on the stories, because these are the kinds of tales that might just make you lock your doors and stay home tonight. It was a dark and stormy night. I know, cliché, right? But trust me, the rain lashing against my windshield and the wind howling like a banshee set the perfect scene for what was to unfold. I was driving home from a late-night work meeting, the highway a desolate ribbon of asphalt under the oppressive sky. The only company I had was the rhythmic swish of my wipers battling the downpour. That's when I saw her, a lone figure huddled by the side of the road, illuminated briefly by the passing beams of my headlights. A young woman, her face obscured by a dark hood, her thumb extended in the universal sign of a hitchhiker. Now, I'm not usually one to pick up strangers, especially not on a night like this. But something about her vulnerability, the way she seemed to shrink under the onslaught of the storm, tugged at my conscience. I pulled over, my car, a beacon of warmth and light in the desolate landscape. She practically leapt into the passenger seat, her breath fogging up the window as she muttered a quick, "Thank you." Her voice was quiet, barely a whisper, and I couldn't help but notice a slight tremor in it, as if she were chilled to the bone. I offered her my spare jacket, which she gratefully accepted, pulling the hood further down to shield her face. "Where are you headed?" I asked, trying to break the ice. Her reply was hesitant, barely audible above the storm raging outside. "Just down the road a bit, if you don't mind." Something felt off. Her answer was vague, evasive. I tried to catch her eye, but her face remained hidden in the shadows of the hood. The silence between us grew heavy, punctuated only by the relentless drumming of the rain. Minutes ticked by, each one stretching into an eternity. The uneasy feeling in my gut intensified. I tried to make small talk, anything to break the tension, but her responses were short, monosyllabic. Suddenly she spoke, her voice taking on an urgency that sent chills down my spine. "Turn here," she instructed, pointing towards a narrow gravel road I'd never noticed before. A road that seemed to disappear into the inky blackness. I don't think that's a good idea," I stammered, my grip tightening on the steering wheel. "It's not on the map and it doesn't look safe." Her response sent a wave of ice through my veins. "Just turn!" she hissed, her voice no longer a whisper but a guttural growl. I slammed on the brakes, my heart pounding in my chest. I don't know what came over me, but some primal instinct screamed at me to get away. I threw the car into reverse, tires spitting gravel as I turned around, the headlights momentarily illuminating the woman's face. Her eyes, wide and vacant, burned with an unholy light, a grotesque parody of a smile stretched across her pale lips. I didn't wait to see more. I sped away, the image of her face seared into my mind. I never picked up another hitchhiker again. The memory of that night, the bone-chilling encounter with the woman on the road, continues to haunt me. To this day, I can't drive down that stretch of highway without feeling a shiver down my spine, a constant reminder of the night I had a brush with something sinister, something that lurks in the shadows waiting for unsuspecting souls to cross its path. My GPS had died miles back, leaving me at the mercy of a tattered paper map and the faint hope of finding a detour sign before I ran out of gas. The road, a narrow strip of cracked asphalt, was quickly being swallowed by the encroaching forest. Every now and then my headlights would catch a glimpse of something rusting in the undergrowth, the skeletal remains of a long abandoned vehicle. Each one was a silent testament to the fact that I was hopelessly, terrifyingly lost. Then I saw it, a sign half hidden by overgrown weeds, its paint faded and peeling. It read Blackwood Lane, next 5 miles. It wasn't on my map, but at that point any road, even one with a name that seemed to whisper warnings on the wind, was better than being stranded in the middle of nowhere. As I turned onto Blackwood Lane, the air grew heavy. thick with an oppressive silence that seemed to muffle the sound of my engine. The trees on either side of the road pressed in close, their branches intertwining overhead to form a tunnel of darkness. My headlights, the only source of light in that suffocating blackness, flickered nervously. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, keeping time with the unsettling creak that had started somewhere in the depths of my car. The further I drove, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The silence was broken only by the occasional snap of a twig under my tires, each sound amplified in the stillness, setting my teeth on edge. And then I saw them, figures. Dark, indistinct shapes that seemed to flit between the trees, their eyes burning like hot coals in the darkness. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, my knuckles turning white, my breath catching in my throat. I told myself it was just my imagination playing tricks on me, the shadows from the trees, taking on sinister forms in my exhausted state. But deep down, a primal fear coiled in the pit of my stomach, whispering that I was not alone. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end as a wave of icy cold washed over me. It felt like I was being watched, every inch of my being scrutinized by unseen eyes. The car lurched, the engine sputtering as if starved for air. I slammed my foot on the accelerator, desperate to escape the oppressive darkness of Blackwood Lane, but the car wouldn't budge. It was as if some unseen force held it captive. Panic welled up inside me, threatening to consume me. I could feel the blood pounding in my ears, my vision blurring at the edges. Then, as quickly as it began, it stopped. The figures vanished, swallowed back into the darkness. The oppressive weight that had been crushing the air lifted. My car sputtered back to life, the engine roaring in protest as I slammed my foot on the accelerator and sped away. I didn't look back. I didn't dare to see if whatever lurked in the shadows of Blackwood Lane was watching me go. Even now, years later, the memory of that night, the bone-chilling feeling of being watched, of being hunted, sends shivers down my spine. Some roads, my friends, are better left untraveled. Chapter 3. The Phantom Truck. It was the dead of night, the kind where the world seems to hold its breath, and the only sounds are the whisper of the wind and the steady thrum of your own heartbeat. I was driving home from a late-night gig, my trusty old car humming along the seemingly endless highway. The radio crackled with static, the only stations I could find playing nothing but eerie, distorted music. I switched it off, opting for the company of my own thoughts. That's when I saw it in my rearview mirror. A pair of headlights burning bright and unwavering in the darkness, gaining on me with an unnatural speed. I checked my speedometer, my foot already pressing down on the gas pedal. I was already pushing the speed limit, but the truck behind me kept closing the distance. Its headlights were blinding, casting my car in an eerie, flickering glow. I could make out the shape of it in my rearview mirror. A massive 18-wheeler, its chrome gleaming menacingly in the moonlight. There was something off about it, something that sent a shiver down my spine. It seemed to glide over the road, its massive tires making no sound against the asphalt. I tried to shake it. I switched lanes, sped up, even took a sudden exit, hoping to lose it in the maze of back roads. But the truck followed my every move, its headlights never leaving my rearview mirror, its presence a suffocating weight on my chest. Panic started to set in. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, my breath coming in short, sharp gasps. Who was driving that truck? And why were they following me? Driven by a primal fear I couldn't explain, I pulled over to the side of the road, my hands trembling as I shifted the car into park. Maybe if I let them pass, whatever malevolent force was behind the wheel would leave me be. The truck roared past, its horn blaring, a sound that seemed to echo through the empty night, a mocking laugh that sent chills down my spine. I watched in horror as it sped down the road, its taillights shrinking in the distance and only to vanish completely. 1 minute it was there, a menacing presence that had me in its thrall, and the next, it was gone, swallowed by the darkness as if it had never existed at all. I sat there for a long time, my heart slowly returning to its normal rhythm, the silence of the night pressing in on me. The encounter left me shaken, my mind racing to find a logical explanation for what I had just witnessed. Had I imagined the whole thing? Was it just a trick of the light, my exhausted mind playing tricks on me? But deep down I knew what I had seen. The phantom truck, they called it. A legend whispered among truckers and late-night travelers, a harbinger of bad luck, a spectre of the road. I never saw the phantom truck again, but the memory of that night continues to haunt me. Now, whenever I'm driving alone at night, I can't help but glance nervously in my rearview mirror, half expecting to see those blinding headlights, to hear the echo of that mocking horn. Thanks for joining me for tonight's descent into darkness. If these tales of terror on the road have kept you on the edge of your seat, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more spine-chilling stories. And if you've got a chilling driving experience of your own, share it in the comments below. Until next time, drive safe, my friends. And remember, sometimes the most terrifying monsters aren't found lurking in the shadows, but on the open road, hidden in plain sight.